When we discuss Mohg and his dynasty of blood, it's usually in the context of White Mask Vare's questline and the Bloody Fingers, but the Tarnished under his employ are not Mohg's only forces. He also has foot soldiers in the form of the Albinaurics that have made their way to him, theoretically either in search of Mikola or the Formless Mother. Above those Albinaurics is the topic of today's video, the Sanguine Nobles. These enemies are rarely found outside of the Mohgwyn dynasty, but can appear from pools of blood whenever they see fit. Their movements are swift, they can parry our Tarnished, and they are out for blood, causing hemorrhaging with all of their attacks. The Sanguine Nobles are something of a mystery in the lands between, so let's try to unravel their story together. Before getting into today's topic, we wanted to take a minute to ask you to subscribe to our channel. We're always striving to bring you the best lore and theories we possibly can when it comes to the world of Elden Ring, and we appreciate your viewership. According to our analytics, about 1/4 of our viewers are currently subscribed, so if you fall into the other 3/4, please consider hitting that button. It really helps with YouTube's algorithm and gives a signal boost to our content. If you don't want to subscribe, that's fine too. We're just happy you're with us for this journey into the obscure details of Elden Ring. With that out of the way, let's talk about the Sanguine Nobles. One of the most interesting things about these enemies right out of the gate is that their name is a bit of a misnomer. The Sanguine robes tell us the grand metallic pattern on the shoulder is a signifier of the noble rank they intend to claim upon the advent of the new dynasty they are working to install. So the Sanguine nobles are not actually nobles at all, they simply plan on taking that title of nobility once the Mohgwyn dynasty rules the lands between. With that said, within their ranks, they seem to be fairly high on the totem pole. When searching Mohg's palace, you can find one of these enemies leading Albinaurics in prayer, presumably to the Formless Mother, the outer god worshipped by Mohg. This is one role of the Sanguine nobles, to act as leaders to the sheep of the Mohgwyn dynasty. When looking at the Sanguine hood, we learn more about their mission. Hood of dyed black cloth featuring gold embroidery, worn by the nobles who serve the Lord of Blood. Known to strike from pools of blood, these assassins are missionaries come to share the gospel of accursed blood. Their title of missionaries is a bit different from what we'd expect from the term. They don't seek to inform or convert Tarnished to the ways of the accursed blood like Vare does. Their mission is to act upon seeing us and immediately try and take our blood for their lord. They wield the perfect weapon for accomplishing this task, the Bloody Hellis, an ominous piercing sword with a winding blade, carried by the noble servants of the Lord of Blood, designed to bore into flesh, causing severe blood loss at the wound. The extracted blood trickles gracefully down the length of the blade. By taking our blood for themselves, they add to the power of Mohg's river of blood and bring the Mohgwyn dynasty one step closer to fruition. There are a few locations where we can encounter these enemies outside of the Mohgwyn palace, but none are without good reason. Firstly, we can be ambushed by a Sanguine noble at the Rose Church, the very church where we become a Bloody Finger at the behest of White Mask Vare. This noble will attack once we enter the church, possibly acting as a bodyguard for Vare, the dynasty's best recruiter. Next, we have the Wraith Blood Ruins, where a Sanguine noble defends a chest containing a Bloody Hellis. This is also where we can encounter Magnus the Beastclaw. Presumably, if we fight him in order to become a Bloody Finger, we're preventing Magnus from attacking this particular noble he seems to have tracked down. Also, a Sanguine noble can be encountered at the Second Church of Marika, a location that's been taken by Mohg's dynasty, as we can not only fight a noble here, but also Bloody Finger Eleonora. Lastly, there is another Sanguine noble in the consecrated snowfield, but we'll talk about him later. Within Mohg's palace, we can find the previously mentioned noble leading the Albinaurics in prayer, but we can also find them throughout the mausoleum. These Sanguine nobles defend the way to Mohg himself, acting as guards to prevent any from seeing their lord. Interestingly, they also seem to keep a merchant imprisoned within the mausoleum. It's hard to say exactly why they would do this instead of killing him and adding his blood to their master's river, but we have two theories. First, they may see his blood as impure due to the effect of the frenzy flame that it seems all merchants keep within themselves. Or second, they simply prefer to allow him to live as he sells one of the Sanguine Noble's favorite items, blood roses. These roses are the only thing the nobles have a chance of dropping upon defeat. Perhaps this merchant serves as the source of their roses, their calling cards. He does seem to have over 300 of them currently on hand. The Sanguine Noble hoods, cloaks, and waistcloths hide most of their physical body from us, which can make it hard to determine their species. However, upon close examination, you can clearly see the horns typical of an omen. The omen, by and large, have their horns removed at birth, which kills most of them, and those that survive are shaped into monsters who utilize brute strength, but the Sanguine Nobles are different. These omen have all of their horns intact, and rather than relying on strength, they attack with speed and precision. Their finesse is what allows them to draw blood from their enemies. The question now is, how did all of these omens come to be born outside of the Golden Order, where they could grow without having their horns removed? There is no clear in-game explanation for why the Sanguine Nobles still have their horns. As far as the lore of the Lands Between tells us, the only omen to have their horns left untouched were the children of Marika, Morgott and Mohg. This leads us to a theory we believe could make sense of this inconsistency. The only place the Sanguine Nobles could be born that would not see them have their horns removed is Mohg's palace itself, and the only omen around who could father these nobles is the Lord of Blood. If the Sanguine Nobles are all children of Mohg, their untouched horns would make perfect sense, as would their claim to nobility. While Mohg himself is a secret to the Lands Between, his children would of course be granted titles should Mohg ever take the throne. So we know that the Sanguine Nobles are Omen, and we have our theory about their parentage, but what about the first enemy we encounter to wear the Sanguine Noble set? This would be Bloody Finger Nereus, who, while clearly a tarnished bloody finger in service to Mohg, wears the clothes of these Omen upstarts. Nereus even wields the Reduvia, which Sanguine Nobles are able to throw for ranged attacks against us. With the context of their aspirations in mind, it seems likely that Bloody Finger Nereus considered himself among their ranks. Perhaps Nereus came to live in the service of Mohg in exchange for his future noble title. This gives him a personal motivation for becoming a Bloody Finger, a path to nobility for one without noble blood. In order to obtain the Sanguine Noble set for ourselves, we face another Bloody Finger with no name, simply going by Sanguine Noble. This Bloody Finger wields 2 Reduvias and can be encountered in the consecrated snowfields. Perhaps this noble is how Mohg found his way to the Haligtree so he could abscond with Miquella. With the addition of Nereus and this unnamed Tarnished, we can see that Sanguine Noble may not need apply only to the Omens, but to any who wish to take the title under the rule of Mohg. Perhaps we ourselves could become Sanguine Nobles, should we serve our Lord Mohg well enough, and choose nobility as our prize for our service. The Sanguine Nobles are an interesting case of what a fledgling dynasty in the Lands Between looks like. They work in the shadows along with their lord, rarely leaving the palace grounds, only doing so to secure their interest above ground. They travel through the use of their accursed blood and remain distant and mysterious, but their goal is simple: complete control of the Lands Between for the glory of the Mohgwyn dynasty. It's thought-provoking to consider that should we choose to become Bloody Fingers, we are technically on the same side as these Omen nobles, seeking to take what they believe they are rightfully owed. Perhaps one day, Miquella will awaken, and the Mohgwyn dynasty will come, and on that day, the Sanguine Nobles will finally have their dreams fulfilled, living above ground with the respect and reverence they believe they deserve. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of the Sanguine Nobles. What do you think of these Omen beset by accursed blood? Do you think they can trace their roots directly to Mohg himself? Or do you think they avoided having their horns removed some other way? We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on our latest lore videos. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden lore.